Hey, fades and parades! Do I even have to say it? What up, everybody? My name is John, and welcome to A Day in the Word, the internet's favorite Bible study. We're in the book of Daniel. That's the male version of Danielle. And today we were supposed to do chapter 11, but I decided to do a bit of a plot twist. Today we're going to read chapter 11 and chapter 12, and I'll explain why, but first I need you all to read Daniel chapter 11, the entire thing, verse 1 through 45. Go. So raise your hand if you gave up halfway through. This is a long chapter, and it actually contains one of the longest prophecies in the entire Bible. So it's a little bit hard to follow and very, very difficult to understand. But hopefully you picked up on the idea that there are these two kings, a king of the south and a king of the north. And these two kings are just fighting back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And I'm sure while you were reading, you were asking the same question I was, which is, who are these two kings? And once again, just like most prophecies and histories in the Bible, you can look it up online and you can find a million different thoughts and opinions and interpretations on who exactly is being referenced here. And in this video, we could go through and I could tell you about all those different theories, but really, I would just kind of be regurgitating something to you that you can read for yourself online. I think that in order to understand the significance of this chapter, or at least why this chapter was significant to me, we have to hold it up next to the next chapter. That's why we're doing both. Sometimes in order to understand something in the Bible, you have to look at what happens directly before it or directly after it, and that will make it a little clearer. Lil tip. So now that we got our reading brains going, why don't we just go ahead and read chapter 12. It's a lot shorter, I promise you. Just read the whole thing right now for me. You're a doll. Thanks. Alright, so in chapter 11, we read about all these wars and this violence and this hatred and this deceit. There's all this ugly, ugly stuff going on. And if you think about it, that's a lot like life. Going through this life, we deal with a whole bunch of stuff. But then in chapter 12, we start to read about the end times. And at the end of verse 1, we read about a promise that God has for those who remain faithful to Him throughout the difficulties of life. It says, "But at that time, your people, everyone whose name is found written in your book, will be delivered." So after this long, long chapter of all these terrible, evil things going on, there comes this promise that those who remain faithful to God to the end will be delivered. And I think this is actually a really great metaphor for our lives with Christ, right? We go through so much stuff in this life. Anger, violence, hatred, deceit, broken relationships, depression. But the promise of Christ is a promise of life, that in the end, at the end of all of that toil, we will be delivered to something greater. The promise is that even if we can't find hope in this life, with Christ, we have an eternal hope. And a lot of people like to make this big hubbub about when exactly the end times are going to come. And the chapter is just as unclear as all of our predictions on it. The chapter talks about 1290 days, then it talks about 1335 days. But rather than knowing exactly when these end times are going to happen, what I found even more comforting was verse 13, the final verse, which says, "As for you, go your way till the end. You will rest. And then at the end of the days, you will rise to receive your allotted inheritance." What this verse promises is that regardless of when exactly those end times come, those of us who have a new identity in Christ, those of us who believe in God to the end, we will receive that inheritance. We will receive that eternal hope that we've been talking about. And I think this is actually a perfect note to end the book of Daniel on, because while this chapter 11 and chapter 12 is a metaphor for our lives, it's also a great metaphor for Daniel's life. Daniel was stuck in basically slavery for the majority, almost all of this book. There is violence, there is hatred, there is deceit. He's living in this dark, dark world. But because of Daniel's faith, because of his strong pursuit of God, he has this eternal hope, even in the middle of difficult circumstances. And I hope that all of us can remember today that even if we're going through difficult times, even if there's just seems like there's no hope in our lives, those of us who are in Christ, those who have a faith in Him, we don't need to lean on the hope of this world because we have an eternal hope. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this 11-week study of Daniel. I've had a lot of fun. I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot from you. Thank you all for your comments. Let me know what book you want us to study next. I asked a couple weeks ago. You all gave me some great suggestions. I'm really feeling New Testament. We did Galatians, then we did Daniel. Now I'm thinking let's hop back into the New Testament, do another one of the letters, maybe do one of the Gospels. I don't know. I want your suggestions as well. Also want your thoughts on Daniel. Also want you to subscribe to the channel. Also love you all. Also keep being awesome. Oh no, I almost forgot. The request concert is tomorrow. I will be doing a live stream spoken word request concert based off of all of your suggestions. Thank you for all of you who backed this challenge. I'm so excited to do it. It's going to be the details tomorrow, 7 p.m. Central Time. Google it if you don't know what that time is for you. 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Central Time. I'll be doing all your spoken word suggestions. I'm going to be bringing on other people to do their own spoken word. It's going to be really exciting. I'm pumped about it. The link to the live stream concert is below in the description. Click that link, get yourself all signed up and ready to go. And tonight, oh my gosh, by the time you're watching this, tonight, check it out, 7 p.m. I hope you show up. It's gonna be a lot of fun. That's the end. Now I say, keep being awesome.